You know, a carefully constructed web of lies is absolutely no match for modern forensic logic. Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to dive into a pretty chilling case out of Bengaluru that hits the nail right on the head. We're looking at a tragic event that literally shook the country, and we're going to see exactly how a super elaborate alibi was completely and methodically dismantled.
So, we have this highly educated, happy couple in Bengaluru. But on the morning of August 10th, something went horribly, horribly wrong. What actually happened inside that house? Let's peel back the layers and uncover the reality behind a supposedly flawless marriage. Because as you'll see, the evidence tells a completely different story.
All right, part 1, a grisly morning. Let's set the baseline here. We're looking at a young, super successful couple whose lives were just shattered in a single morning. Satish was an HR manager at Infosys, and Priyanka was a math teacher at Delhi Public School. They were living this really comfortable life in Hulamavu. They were well-educated, had great jobs, and get this, they'd even just bought a plot of land to build their dream home. To everyone looking in, Satish and Priyanka were living the absolute modern dream.
Now, check out this incredibly tight timeline Satish gives the police for the morning of August 10, 2010. He says he wakes up, laces up his shoes, and heads out for his normal routine jog at 5:45 a.m., leaving Priyanka at home to do some yoga. Exactly 10 minutes later, at 5:55, he claims Priyanka calls him, totally terrified because there are scrap dealers at the door. And then, at 6:40 a.m., he says he finally gets back to the apartment.
So he says he finds the door locked from the inside, has to go all the way to his office to grab a spare key, and when he finally gets inside, it's a total nightmare. He finds his wife brutally murdered. She's tied to a chair in the living room. But the thing is, there are absolutely no signs of a struggle. That sheer brutality, mixed with a totally undisturbed room, that immediately signaled to investigators that something was profoundly wrong.
Which brings us to part 2, the alibi and the protest.
Satish paints this highly specific picture for the cops of a morning robbery gone terribly wrong. He talks about these suspicious scrap dealers roaming the building before 6 a.m. He explains his whole trip to the Infosys office for the spare key. He even lists exactly what's missing, specifically 21,000 rupees in cash and 1.75 lakh in saved jewelry. And he was so incredibly adamant about this story that he actually staged a sit-in protest outside the local police station. I mean, he was out there demanding swift justice and putting immense pressure on the investigators.
But then we get to Section 3, the dismantling.
First, let's look at that spare key. Satish said he drove to his office to get it, right? Well, police did some digging and pulled the swipe card data from his office. And, corporate places like Infosys have crazy strict security. That digital log blew a massive hole in his story. He never actually went inside the building that morning. He had already taken the key home the day before. Oops.
Next up, the digital footprints. This is where it gets crazy. Satish claimed he was out jogging when Priyanka called him in distress. But guys, cell towers do not lie. When the authorities pulled the call detail records, they found that both Satish's and Priyanka's phones were pinging off the exact same cell tower at the exact time of that call. His phone wasn't out on some jogging trail. It was right there in the house. It's a pretty stark reminder that while human deception can be super elaborate, digital forensics are just stubbornly precise.
And then, there's a glaring paradox with this staged robbery. And this is a massive red flag. Satish specifically claimed 21,000 rupees were stolen. Yet, the police very easily found 30,000 rupees in cash just sitting nearby, completely untouched. Even crazier, these supposedly ruthless robbers left behind all the highly visible gold jewelry Priyanka was literally wearing, her Mangalsutra, her earrings, and her ring. Ask yourself, why would robbers dig for hidden savings, but leave easily accessible cash and solid gold right in front of them? They wouldn't.
But honestly, the most damning piece of the puzzle is this number, 45. Satish claimed he was just downstairs jogging in his own neighborhood. Yet, after receiving a frantic call from his wife saying she was terrified of strangers at the door, it took him 45 minutes to get back inside. I mean, come on, if your partner calls you in that kind of distress, you don't take 45 minutes to run up a flight of stairs.
Let's move to Section 4, the dark motive and execution.
So confronted with all this overwhelming digital evidence, plus physical clues like hidden gloves and the fact that he was totally faking a limb to get sympathy, Satish's whole facade just crumbled. He confessed, and what he revealed was chilling. This wasn't a crime of passion. He spent 3 agonizing months acting like the perfect loving husband while secretly plotting her murder just to ensure no one would suspect him. 3 whole months of calculated deception.
It's literally a step-by-step horror story. He basically weaponized a fake game of trust to make his wife completely defenseless. When Priyanka went to Kerala for some arthritis treatment, he'd call her every single day, playing the doting husband. When she got back, he introduced this game where he would blindfold her to give her surprise gifts. He did this successfully twice to really build her confidence. Then on the morning of August 10th, he played the game one last time. He blindfolds her, convinces her to let him tie her hands to the chair so she wouldn't peek, and tells her he's putting a beautiful necklace on her. But that necklace was a nylon rope.
Section 5. Dual Perspectives.
Now, to understand the why behind a crime that meticulously planned, we really have to look impartially at both sides of their arranged marriage, because the two families had widely different stories. Satish claimed he was driven to it because Priyanka was relentlessly isolating him from his parents. He alleged she forced him to stop wearing a locket with his parents' picture, refused to help his dad financially, and demanded they move out. According to him, the absolute final straw was when she publicly insulted his parents at a puja ceremony for their new land, basically telling them they had no right to even be there.
But flip the coin, and Priyanka's parents paint a starkly different reality. They alleged that she was the victim of constant mental abuse by Satish and his parents right from day one of the marriage. We're talking daily torment over really trivial domestic stuff like literally getting yelled at for not making perfectly round rotis. And they said Satish always took his parents' side. According to her family, Priyanka was completely broken and was really just trying to escape a super toxic environment by moving away from her in-laws.
Finally, Section 6. The verdict.
Regardless of the tragic marital disputes and the totally conflicting family narratives, the law strictly looks at the hard forensic facts of the crime. And after a grueling 7-year legal battle, Satish was handed a life sentence in July 2017 for murder and tampering with evidence. His subsequent appeals to the High Court totally rejected. That perfect life facade was completely destroyed. And today, in this really dark twist of irony, a man who used a meticulously planned lie to end a life now spends his days behind bars teaching other inmates so they can earn degrees.
We are left with this pretty haunting question. It's a profound reminder to always look a little deeper than the surface. The perfectly curated lives we see are sometimes just smoke and mirrors. But the digital footprints and the forensic facts, they're always going to speak for the victims. Thanks for joining me on this explainer today, and keep questioning what you see.